Hello everybody, this is section of Microeconomics, chapter of Consumer Preferences, chapter 2. We start with the meaning of consumer behavior. Consumer behavior refers to how a consumer selects or buys goods and services to what? To satisfy his wants and needs. Consumer preferences is the subjective utility of different goods and services. The indifference curve is a graphical presentation of the consumer preferences. Each indifference curve represents all combinations of two goods that give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. X1, for example, apple, is presented on horizontal axis. X2, for example, orange, is presented on the vertical axis. Each indifference curve gives all combinations of x1 and x2 that give the same level of utility. So, points A, B, C, D, E, and F on the indifference curve U1 gives the same level of utility, while points G, H, and I on the indifference curve U2 give the same level of utility. The indifference curve U2 represents a higher level of satisfaction or a higher level of utility than U1. This means higher indifference curves give higher level of satisfaction than lower indifference curve. What are the characteristics of indifference curves? Indifference curves never intersect. Why? Because if indifference curves intersect, the consumer will not be able to rank different baskets according to the level of utility. Therefore, the preference will not be complete. Second characteristic is slope of the indifference curve is negative. This means if a consumer wants to increase the quantity of one good, he must reduce the quantity of the other good to obtain the same level of satisfaction. Slope of the indifference curve equal change in x2 over change in x1. Measure what? Measure the number of units of x2 given up in order to gain one additional unit of x1, the same level of satisfaction. Third characteristic, indifference map. Consumer preferences of different market baskets, x1 and x2, are represented by a group of indifference curves. Not only one curve, group of indifference curves. Each indifference curve gives a specific level of utility. Examples of the indifference curves: perfect substitutes. For example, the consumer would be willing to substitute 1 unit of x1 for 2 units of x2, 1 unit of apple for 2 units of orange. This means that 1 orange is substituted for 1/2 of apple. And this rate of substitution never changes with every time the consumer is willing to substitute apple for orange or vice versa. So, the indifference curve will be straight line with constant negative slope. Perfect complements. It's impossible to consume one of them without the other, as you can't wear the right shoes without the left shoes. The fixed proportion here is 1:1. Beds, for example, consumer likes chicken and dislike cheese. Chicken and cheese are mixed together in pizza shop. This means The consumer will consume two goods where one of them is good, which is chicken, and the other is bad, which is cheese. Slope here is positive because I consume two goods together. Quantity of x1, I will have to increase the quantity of x2 to maintain the same level of utility. Neutral goods. This is goods. A good will be neutral if the consumer doesn't care about it. The level of satisfaction will not affect it with or without a neutral good. So the indifference curve will be vertical straight line. MRS, the marginal rate of substitution. It measures how many units of x2 must be given up in order to increase the quantity of x1 by 1 unit and still maintain what? Maintain the same level of satisfaction. Marginal rate of substitution equal negative change in x2 over change in x1. Negative change in x2 over change in x1. The marginal rate of substitution is the slope of the indifference curve and it always negative. If you have any question, leave a comment and I will answer.